it's a tradition in our meetups, so we have an Ask Manager, and thank you to Roman Balakin and Shirin Elmasi for volunteering, and they're gonna be answer our questions. So guys, let's do this way. The question number one, what are you looking for in a candidate? I would love to hear from Shirin.
Okay.
When you do phone screening, and what are you looking for in the candidate? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, of course. I'm going to give a little bit of an intro of myself real quick. I'm the talent acquisition manager. I've been with M4 for 2.5 years. I've been in recruiting my entire career, so I started off in agency recruiting, and M4 was my client during my time in agency recruiting, and so then I joined them June of 2017. So we've hired 40 people since January of 2017. It's been really busy. We have a recruiting coordinator with us now, so it's been a lot of fun. To answer your question, there's a few things that we look for when it comes to phone screens. So the interview process typically involves a phone screen between myself or our recruiting coordinator first, and then we introduce you to the managers for a phone interview. The number one thing that we look for, well, there's two things, but we really like people who are passionate about what they do. We have a really, as you can somewhat see, a relaxed environment. So we look for people who love what they do, because that'll have you work hard and really want to come into work every day and do what you enjoy doing. So we do hire passionate people. I always ask, why do you do what you do? I want to know, why QA? Like that, it's just such a niche that it's like, why is that of interest for you? So I like looking at passion, and then I also look for interest in our company. So it's important for us to hire people who are interested in M4. We understand that when you're interviewing with multiple companies. I want to know why you want to work for mine. What makes you interested in this company and this opportunity to want to work here, because we're going to want you and we want you to want us. So that's my answer.
Great, thank you. So then you send this candidate over to Roman.
Yes.
Roman, what are you looking for in the candidate?
Yes. So the first part would be the same, passionate about quality. And what does this mean, passionate? How do we look for that, right? So one of the things, the first step, to me, if you didn't care to check your resume for spelling errors, grammar errors, you're probably not that passionate about quality, So, and it's kind of fascinating how many people don't bother to do the basic thing. So that pretty much is a red flag right away. So then obviously there are multiple steps. So would you have multiple teams? Would you want to make sure that the person would fit culturally, that they share the same interests, that obviously there's a technical part with our development team as well. So those would be the main aspects.
All right, cool. Guys, what are your favorite interview questions? Can you share with that?
Yeah, Roman has some fun ones. Mine aren't that exciting. I do ask people, again, sorry to beat a dead horse here, but I want to know why you want to work for our company. That's a really big thing for me. I do ask people why they studied certain majors, especially if their major doesn't align with their career. We do see that pretty often, so I'm always curious, why did you choose to major this in school but go down this career path? So I ask those questions, but his are way cooler.
Not all.
Well, some of them.
Some of them.
Bring up the one you did for Cheryl.
No, that is different. The first question actually is very simple, and some people actually think that everyone asks this question because people are not prepared, which to me makes no sense, because we all know we're gonna get asked this question, and this is very simple. Just tell me about yourself.
Interesting.
Yes, and it actually tells a lot about what person deems important about themselves.
Yeah.
And what do they want to highlight, right? Because there's just a few minutes to answer this question, and you got to be concise, and you got to highlight only those aspects that you think are the most important. One of the other questions that I love to ask is, what is the most exciting project that you worked for recently. Also show passion, show what people actually think is exciting, and sometimes it's not that exciting at all. When people say, well, there was an app, it was okay, yeah, we worked on that. I'm like, so much passion, okay. Yeah, so.
All right, so let's go to another one. Red flags, guys. What are those red flags
I
that?
have so many.
Yeah.
Go
Just
ahead.
kidding. I don't have that many. So for me, if you're not prepared for any stage of the interview process, it's like I almost know immediately when a candidate doesn't respond back to the confirmation that I sent them. I can already tell that we're not going to hire that person. So that's a pretty big tell for me. We want people who are diligent, pay attention, and are prepared. So come with a resume. Come ask me questions. If you don't know what the dress code is for your interview, ask me. I mean, I'm an open book. So preparation is the biggest thing. We've had situations in where we call candidates and they're not ready for the phone call. So that to me, or they're in the car and they're driving. I don't recommend that. So preparation for me is a huge red flag. I'm not picky on resumes. Don't tell my boss, but I don't look at those types of things because for me, I understand how hard and stressful the job search is. So I want to talk to you and I want to see who you are and how it's going to be to work with you. Resumes are important, and I'm so glad he pays attention to those things, and that's why we have partnerships with the hiring managers. But just do a good job on your resume. But if you didn't, and I'm your recruiter, you get lucky.
Yeah, and for God's sake, I know it. Yeah, spend a little bit of time because
just prepare.
Prepare, and even prepare before you submit your resume to the company, because we get so many just those trash resumes when people I'm pretty sure, I'm 100% sure they just apply it to all the companies where they see QA.
Yeah.
It's like keyword, okay, apply, and then you read those resumes and it makes no sense. So the stack is completely different, not at all what we're looking for. So why even bother wasting your own time, wasting someone else's time? There's no way anyone in their in their clear mind would want to talk to such person, right?
Yeah.
If it does not match anything, what is the job description, what is in the resume. So this one fun story which can be a red flag. Yeah. So
Here at 4?
here at 4.
Oh my gosh.
About a month ago.
Guys.
There was one person who actually asked the question, tell me about yourself. And the person started from the school years, and then they went to talking about every single project and the company and how big the team was. I didn't want to interrupt. I'm very polite, so I'm like, okay. It was over the phone as well. So when it got past 10 minutes, I actually got even more curious. I'm like, how long is it going to take this person? 17 minutes. That's the ultimate record to answer 10 about yourself question. Never do that, please.
I always say the interview should be, it should be a conversation. It should be 50-50. As much as we're asking you questions, you should be asking us questions. It shows interest in our company, but this is serious for you. You're making a life change. You should be asking us stuff, and we want to, we share information. We want to make sure that this is a place that you want to be. So just a 50-50, I think is a...
Yeah, and honesty is the best policy. That's 100%. Because if we ever catch someone lie even a little bit, you haven't even gained trust yet, right? And then you lose it completely. So it's way better to say that, maybe you don't know that. That's fine. We're all human. We'll learn. Yeah. It's much better than tell that, yes, for sure you worked with this technology for a lot, and then the next question would be to elaborate on that, and that is it. Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
Google is your tool.
Yes. Google is always our tool. Everyone's tool.
Yeah.
100%.
All right, let's go to the resume tips and hints. We have a lot of discussion with different companies, different managers, different people. They have different opinions. What is your opinion of a good-looking resume? land maybe, what is the first thing is catching your eyes on the resume, what not?
Yeah, Roman's actually, I mean, I'm going to answer the question, but Roman is one of the only hiring managers that went through every single applicant that applied for this role, so he'll have, I'm sure, his opinions. But it's rule of thumb that managers or recruiters look at resumes for 30 seconds. So you basically have enough for us to catch our eye to see if we're even going to read further. So I personally don't recommend a resume longer than 2 pages. If you can put it on 1 page, that's great, but I would never go over 2. I look at your last title, the type of company that you worked for, and the industry, how long you were there, and then I'll pay attention to 1 or 2 bullet points of what you did while you were there. For technical positions, I do see if you have some of the languages or tools that our team uses. We go through a thorough intake every time we have a new job opening. So myself and our recruiting team, we know what the managers are looking for. So we make sure that we see those things on the resume. But all of that happens in 30 seconds. So you definitely want a clean, organized, thorough, concise resume, and don't have any spelling errors for Roman.
Yeah, with me it's a little different because I'm looking more in depth, obviously, so many times it takes more than 30 seconds, so it can be a couple minutes, maybe even more than that. But same idea, yeah, when I'm looking at the resume that's 7 pages,
We don't have time for that.
You don't have time for that. And what's worse, many times it feels like people feel that the more the better, but it's really about quality, not quantity. So many times the bullet points almost repeat each other. It's the same thing, just like over and over again. Why even waste our time or your own time? So please don't do that. 1-2 pages is enough. Ideally, if you mention like the tools that the company is looking for, if we actually have experience with them. So yeah.
I have an extra question actually.
Please.
Go ahead.
I didn't notify about this one.
That's okay.
What do you think about this? How the resume should looks like? Because, for example, my resume previously did have objective or summary, like where it was like 3 up to 5 bullets of overall summary,
Yeah.
right? But for some reason, I decided to remove it completely because I was thinking I should be to the point and put experience on the first place, and in the end I put my skills and where you can see I would say the keywords, right,
Sure.
of technical experience. What do you think, like about especially the summary? Because I see a lot of discussion right now. Some people say I want to see summary.
Yeah.
Some people they say I want to see straightforward experience.
Yeah.
What do
I
you
can
guys
start
think?
on that. I don't have a preference, to be honest. I would say it doesn't matter how it's structured, as long as it has all the information needed and it's not a waste of space. It's all good. Probably the keywords on the bottom. That sometimes is a little odd when people just like put everything, like comma, all the technologies, like that's kind of odd. But everything else, summary, doesn't matter where it is. It's all good.
Okay.
What about right now?
Yeah. I'm not the resumes aren't my favorite thing. My favorite thing is talking to candidates. So I really just use resumes as a template for my conversation. I don't have a preference. When I see it, what I do like is when people are like, the only time I pay attention to summaries, objectives, and cover letters is when I can tell that that individual tailored it to my company. I just notice it. I don't give it a thumbs up or thumbs down. I'm just like, oh, that's great. Like this person took the time to say that they wanted a position here at M4.
So
Just
bottom
be a
line,
thumbs
if
up.
it's appropriate there, that's fine. If person didn't put there, that's also fine. But
Yeah.
if experience fits, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to pay attention to the recruiting industry as a whole. I mean, people are moving away from cover letters. People are about creating relationships with candidates. I mean, sorry to call her out, but I've known Cheryl, or even just about Cheryl, for like 4 years. when I was at my agency, and then she went through our interview process. And so my part in hiring comes from building relationships with candidates. So because of that, I don't pay attention to the paper. I would rather meet you, talk to you, figure out why you want to work here and what you're passionate about, and then I can quickly make a decision.
Great, thank you. Anybody has a question?
About the bullet points, you have experience, right, in the company, and you put the bullet points. There is two basically main things that the people writing there. So their percentage of raising the company's sales or something like that. So how you increase the something, right? And if you don't have like QA, how you can put it into numbers? So did you make like 200 test cases or something? What else you can put there? Like what the different way to look at it?
Right. For me, obviously for QA, it's harder to come with more numbers. I would look for that mostly for, let's say, product people, right? So salespeople or maybe marketing. QA, not so much. It's more about, I would say, technologies that you work with. Yeah, if there are some numbers, if you were able to cut the run times, for example, by whatever, that's good. That's good to see.
But it's pretty much day-to-day work he was doing. Or like applications he was working.
That will still be covered in like technical interview. So I would not worry about that.
What I like to see on resumes is a mix of your responsibilities, so your day-to-day, but also your achievements. We have a QA engineer who developed, Johnny, I don't know the right way to say this, but basically he did something pretty incredible and cut the automation time from a 10-step task or something like that into 5 steps or 2. That's appealing to us. So if you have any sort of accomplishments or achievements that you've done that are not metrics based that you're proud of, I do want to know about that, but I also want to know about your responsibilities. If you use X language, how did you use it? So both achievements and responsibilities. I put both on mine. I'm not looking for a job, but
maybe you build a framework, or maybe
Yeah. So I recommend both.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Do you look at your LinkedIn and Facebook,
Yes.
and do you spy?
That's a great question. Yes, I always cross-reference LinkedIn. So I use LinkedIn pretty regularly. Our team uses LinkedIn every day. So I like it. Sometimes it can mimic your resume, which is totally fine. It's rare that I go on Facebook. It does happen every so often, but no, I don't go into social media accounts to look people up. That isn't of interest
Not
to
even
me.
Tinder?
Nothing on Tinder.
Go ahead.
I have a question about red flags. I am currently pregnant, and do you guys hire, or how is it works?
That's a great question. So legally, the companies don't ask what your personal life or family growth looks like. So we wouldn't ask that. If you are visibly pregnant, the right company is hiring you because of who you are, not because of the life that's going to happen. So the right company with the right values won't let that interfere if you're the right candidate for them. The only time I can say that it may step in is if there's a crucial timeline and they have to fill the position ASAP, and the candidate is going to be out for a period of time. But we hire the people, we don't hire your situation or
Thank you.
Yeah.
So when people applying for the jobs, like they don't apparently read for the company description what they do, right? Let's say I really want a job, and you see bunch of jobs list in the LinkedIn, and you click apply, and when you call, how many people really say, like, when you ask question like, why do you want work for this particular company, how many people answer that?
That's a good question. Well, first and foremost, we can easily figure out when people do that, and the main reason is what Roman said, like, as much time as you guys take into drafting your resumes, we take equal amount of time in drafting our job descriptions. So when we get candidates that have heavy .NET, C# type of experiences, and we're seeing that they're applying to our software engineer roles, but we don't use those languages, we know that you've just quick applied. So I don't even call those people. I would say about 10%, maybe less, I don't know about Maddie if you have an opinion, aren't prepared for the call. But we could tell. Our job descriptions are pretty fit for a certain background.
Yeah, and everyone wants to see at least a little bit of interest. Like, why did you even care to apply? Like, maybe you're interested in what company does. Maybe you're interested in this tech or technologies you're gonna be working with, right? At least something. Or like what? You just want money? That makes no sense.
I
right?
understand the job search is really hard, and when you're doing it for multiple companies. Take the 2 minutes before your scheduled call and just search us really quick. Like at minimum, just do that. At worst, Google me. Like that's all I need you to do is just have some sort of, okay, I looked you guys up. Yeah, but I'd rather know that you did research on the company. Yeah.
I have like very close following question on that, but it's maybe when you ask like finding out about the passion, right? So like I know that I have to do my homework before going to the interview, and I know. So for me, why I want to work on this company is like if I know the technology, which one would be more interesting for me, then I can answer it. That's why, that would be my passion, and that's why I want to work for you guys. But if I start asking questions about the platform and technology and what you use, but most of the time the interviewer do you really, they're not going to be answering. But just by going to your website, I cannot get what the technology you're using behind the back, right? So if you ask me that question, like personally, I would be like, I want to see more internals, in order to answer that correctly. Yeah. I could just say the book words like, oh, I'm like crazy about your company, but I don't know nothing about your company.
So you can always, we get that regularly, right? So I'll say, why are you interested in M4? And they don't know. If you ask me, I promise you I'm going to tell you. Like, I know so much about the organization that if you ask me, I'll tell you. The more engaged you are, that's where we can sense your interest. But if it is like I applied because I have these technologies and you're looking for these technologies, I'm going to push you and I'm going to say, okay, well, have you looked up the industry? Is market research something that you're interested in? I love that you love these technologies. What do you want to do with them? Like, I still want to figure out why.
Yeah, that's correct. But recently what happened is like last week, it's a small startup company.
Sure.
I started asking questions like what you use, what's your platform? It's like, I really want to work in a company that I have faced a challenge, that I learn, I grow at the same time. I don't want to go the same platform that I have been doing in the previous company,
Sure.
right? So he would really wouldn't release the internals. So like, I really cannot show my interest. That's like how you guys would.
And who are you talking with, if I may ask? Like, what was the title?
He was a CEO. But
CEO.
He was like 15 people in that company, very startup.
Maybe not your company.
That's what I was going to say.
So,
You're interviewing the company as much as the company is interviewing you. So if just alone in your interview process, they're not willing to answer certain questions, that gives you a little insight into what it would be like to work there.
Yes.
We're like here, I'm like, yeah, we failed doing this 6 months ago. Like, I'm just so out there, so you're prepared.
So, but the question, I do apologize.
No,
Keep
please.
asking. The question is, this question usually comes at first. It's like, why do you want to work for us? So even if I didn't get a chance to ask you or like interview or like, what is this like? So in that case, what would be the best answer?
Well, think of it this way. So it's a two-way road, right? And maybe you can spend at least a few minutes looking like what is the company that you apply to, right? And maybe there's not going to be a lot, So then you can honestly respond that it looks promising, it looks interesting, and you want to learn more about the company, about this technology stack, and all that kind of stuff, right? So to me, that would be good enough on the first stage. And then that would depend on who you're talking with, right? So if that's someone from the team and the person is technical, well, if they don't want to tell you what stack they're using, you should probably consider other company right away. I would tell you that. Because anyone who's actually technical, who's working on that stuff, they would be so happy to actually tell you, share what they're using, maybe sometimes even what the main problems are. So that's, yeah.
All right, my last question.
Sure.
Are you guys hiring, and how they can find you?
Good question. So as of right now, we are not hiring in the technology department. However, we always, like I mentioned earlier, I knew Cheryl 4 years ago. So I always like to create relationships with you guys now so that when and if we have positions that are open, I can just call you right away and we don't have to wait for this back and forth. We do have all of our positions posted on the careers page on m4.com, and then we post some of them on LinkedIn as well. But really, if you're interested in our company, just reach out. Just reach out to Roman, reach out to myself. We keep your information on file, and we always reach out to past candidates or past people we've interacted with before we find new ones. So that's my answer.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.